Namaskar, good afternoon. You are watching Rajya Sabha television. I am Smriti Rastogi with the midday news. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. 3 days left for campaigning to draw to a close in Rajasthan and Telangana. Prime Minister's rallies in Hyderabad and Jodhpur. Rahul Gandhi and Chandrababu Naidu's roadshow in Telangana. On International Day of Persons with Disabilities, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu to confer 72 national awards today evening. Honour for outstanding work in empowering people with disabilities. Moodys projects stable outlook for banking sector in India over the next 12 to 18 months. Outlook based on healthy economic growth and steady asset quality. Qatar to leave the intergovernmental organization OPEC next month. Country's energy minister says decision to leave the organization of petroleum exporting countries due to its plans to focus on natural gas production. And China agrees to scale back tariffs on imported US cars, says US President Donald Trump. Both the countries had agreed to a ceasefire in the trade war following Trump-Xi meeting on G20 summit sidelines in Argentina last week. Ratings agency Moodys has projected a stable outlook for the banking sector in India over the next 12 to 18 months. Moodys Investor Services outlook for the sector for India in Baa2 stable. The outlook is based on healthy economic growth and weak but stabilizing asset quality. The outlook is part of the report on Indian banks titled Economic Strength and Stabilized Asset Quality Supports Stable Outlook. The stable outlook is based on Moody's assessment of 6 drivers. The 6 drivers are operating environment, asset quality, capital, funding and liquidity, profitability and efficiency, and government support. With the operating environment, Moodys says that the environment will stay stable, supported by robust economic growth. Moodys expects that real GDP in India will grow 7.2% in the year ending March 2019 and 7.4% in the following year, driven by investment growth and strong consumption. On asset quality, Moodys says that this factor will remain stable but weak as the cleanup of legacy problem loans nears completion and corporate health improves. The report also says that the funding and liquidity in banks will stay strong. And now all the election news in Battleground 2018. It is the last leg of the campaigning for Rajasthan and Telangana, with just 4 days left for voting there. Campaigning is on at a feverish pitch. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is campaigning in the 2 states today. He is scheduled to address an election rally in Hyderabad today. This is Prime Minister's second visit to the poll-bound Telangana. He had addressed meetings at Nizamabad and Mehboob last week. The Prime Minister will also address a public meeting at Jodhpur today. Meanwhile, Amit Shah continued his election campaign in Rajasthan. Speaking in Chittorgarh, Amit Shah said that the people have to decide between the able governance of the BJP or the Congress party, which has no agenda.
दो खेमे पड़ चुके हैं, दोनों खेमे तय है। एक और मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में देशभक्तों की टोली जैसी भारतीय जनता पार्टी खड़ी है, और दूसरी ओर राहुल बाबा के नेतृत्व में, अरे भाई अभी मेरी बात तो समाप्त होने दो। राहुल बाबा के नेतृत्व में कांग्रेस पार्टी, जिसका ना नेता है, ना नीति है, ना सिद्धांत है।
And Union Health Minister and Telangana BJP election in charge JP Nadda targeted the TRS government for allegedly blocking development of the state by not implementing central sector schemes. He also dubbed Grand Alliance as an unholy one. Our correspondent Kriti Mishra gets this exclusive conversation with the Union Minister.
Union Minister and BJP is in charge of Telangana, Mr. JP Nadda. Welcome to Rajya Television, sir. Last time around, there were 5 seats of the BJP in the state. This time around, the BJP is fighting aggressively, seeking to add one more state in its kitty. What is BJP's game plan?
First of all, I would like to say that people are dejected with the present KCR government. They feel cheated. Corruption is rampant. Funds have been diverted, and the poor and the marginal sections of the society has been ignored. Telugu Desam has been also against Telangana. So these are the questions of contradictions which they are facing. People have faith in Bharatiya Janata Party. They have seen national government working under Prime Minister Modi. They also know that many programs for the marginal section of the society, for the deprived class, have been brought by Narendra Modi ji. But these programs are not being implemented in Telangana state. So that is the cause of concern for the people here.
About dejection with the incumbent government. But the TRS says that there's no anti-incumbency and it is the most farmer-friendly government in the country, and also that it has unveiled the maximum number of developmental programs for all sections of society.
He should name out the development projects which has been witnessed, because the people of Telangana are unaware about it. It's only KCR who knows about it, and he can only answer. But as far as they being farmer friendly, and I feel that the number of suicides taken place here shows how much farmer friendly he was.
Meanwhile, Congress President Rahul Gandhi will also campaign in Telangana today. Rahul Gandhi will participate in 3 meetings. Gandhi and TDP leader Chandrababu Naidu will also hold a roadshow in Kukatpalli. This will be the second time both leaders will share the dais in the poll-bound state. And several leaders, Congress leaders, including Jairam Ramesh, Ghulam Nabi Azad, Virappa Moily and Kapil Sibal, held various road shows in Hyderabad yesterday. Azad was accompanied by Chandrababu Naidu in his roadshow. Speaking in Hyderabad, Kapil Sibal alleged that farmer suicide has gone up in the state.
3 एकड़ लैंड शेड्यूल कास्ट को हम दे देंगे. कहां है वो 3 एकड़? 10,000 रुपया देंगे, नौकरी देंगे, हर परिवार में एक नौकरी देंगे. कहां है वो नौकरी?
And TRS chief KCR on Sunday released its party's manifesto ahead of the elections. The manifesto promises enhancement of retirement age of government servants by 3 years to 61 and unemployment allowance of nearly 3,000 rupees to youth. The manifesto also promised a raise in the pensions of differently abled persons from 1,500 rupees to 3,016 rupees. The party has promised 1 lakh rupee loan waiver to farmers. Releasing the 24 poll promises in its manifesto, KCR said that his party would continue to implement all the existing schemes extensively. Sunil Arora took charge as the 23rd Chief Election Commissioner on Sunday. After assuming the charge, the new Chief Election Commissioner sought cooperation from all stakeholders, including political parties, media, civil society organizations, and people at large, in making our elections totally free, fair, peaceful, accessible, and ethical. Arora succeeds O.P. Rawat, who demitted office last week and will be in office till October 2021.
भारतीय चुनाव आयोग एक प्रकार से सारे विश्व में जो डेमोक्रेटिक वर्ल्ड के लिए एक आइडियल है, और जो देश डेमोक्रेसी की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं उनके लिए एक प्रकाश पुंज है. हम सब मिलके जो संविधान में परिकल्पना की गई थी चुनाव आयोग की या चुनाव आयोग की भूमिका की, और विशेष तौर पे जो आदर्श हमारे संविधान के प्रियम्बल में उद्धृत किए गए हैं, हम उनके अनुसार यथासंभव काम करेंगे।
Outstanding work for empowerment of people with disabilities will be awarded today. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu will give away the national honours to 72 recipients across 14 wide categories. For National Awards 2018, an advertisement inviting applications from persons belonging to all the 21 specified disabilities was published in the leading newspapers. In all, 1,221 applications were received till last date of receipt of applications. The National Selection Committee, in its meeting held on 1st November 2018, considered the applications shortlisted by the screening committees and recommended 72 awards in 14 categories of national awards. Till 2017, the awards were provided under 7 categories. It has now been increased to 21. The awards will be conferred on individuals, institutions and organizations.
RBI में से शुरू से लेके अंत तक मैं ऐसे कहता हूँ कि मतलब एप्लीकेशन में उसकी प्रिपरेशन कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्ज़ाम की और वहाँ पे ज्वाइनिंग के समय जो इंडक्शन ट्रेनिंग है, इट वाज वेरी चैलेंजिंग, क्योंकि बाकी सारे जो मैनेजर्स थे, ट्रेनी थे, वो लोग लाइब्रेरी में जाके पढ़ सकते थे और जो भी असाइनमेंट्स होते थे वो लोग ग्रुप स्टडी में करके केस स्टडी सॉल्व कर सकते थे, और मेरे लिए ये सब नहीं था कि मैं बुक्स को इतना इजीली पढ़ सकूं।
रूटीन लाइफ में मेरे को रोजीना कहीं ना कहीं शरीर के किसी न किसी हिस्से पे इंटरनल ब्लीडिंग होती है, उसके साथ में मैं काम करता हूँ। मैं उसको मेंटली रूप से अवॉइड करता हूँ और कोशिश करता हूँ कि मेरा दिन की जो जितनी एक्टिविटीज़ है वो एक विदाउट उसको इफ़ेक्ट किए हुए उसको कंप्लीट करूँ।
वी कैपेबल वेबसाइट के अंदर हम विकलांगता से जुड़ी तमाम जो पहलू हैं उनके बारे में बात करते हैं, और विकलांगजनों को हम जो भी इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ें हैं, चाहे वो गवर्नमेंट की स्कीम्स हों, उनकी पर्सनल लाइफ से रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम्स हों, मेडिकल इन्फॉर्मेशन हो, वो सारी इस वेबसाइट के ज़रिए देने की कोशिश करते हैं।
The Human Resource Development Ministry has given directions to all the schools in the country that expenditure incurred on books, uniforms and transport of children with disabilities would be reimbursed. Minister of State for HRD Satyapal Singh has said that there are about 12 million people with disability and just 1% go to schools. Giving away the Helen Keller Awards 2018 in the national capital on Sunday, he said differently abled people just do not need courtesy and compassion, but real empowerment, which would come through education. He also added that the girl child will be given 200 rupees per month. The government from this academic session has also issued directions that there will be minimum 5% admission for differently abled children in all educational bodies. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that the private sector must ensure that the treatment provided by them is not only accessible but also affordable. Speaking after the inauguration of Rainbow Children's Hospital in Chennai on Sunday, the Vice President highlighted the importance of healthcare in the governance in the country. He called upon the private sector to partner with the government in making healthcare affordable as well as accessible to the common man, particularly in the rural and remote parts of the country. He also said that the sector must set up healthcare facilities in the rural areas as part of its corporate social responsibility activities. He stressed that the participation and cooperation of both public and private sector is essential to improve the preventive and treatment interventions for newborns and those below 5 years to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals target of reducing under 5 mortality to 25 per 1,000 live births by 2030.
The most important aspects of governance of any country, it is extremely crucial for any developing nation like India to provide a healthy and happy childhood to children. Ensuring a healthy and happy childhood to children who are the future of our country is the responsibility of every Indian, not the government alone. It must be noted that childhood plays a vital role in the overall physical, emotional and social well-being of an individual in the later years. In India, an estimated 24.7 million children are born every year. According to a census 2011, the share of the children, that is 0 to 6 years, accounted for 13.12% of the total population of the country. The experience in childhood leaves a profound impact and lays the foundation for the future. A child who is well nurtured nutritionally and emotionally will not only be happy but also stay healthy. According to the UNICEF, nearly 43% of children below 5 years in low and middle income countries are not getting the required nutrition, protection and the stimulation they needed. More than 60% of the people, they live on agriculture. Their main vocation is agriculture and they live in the rural areas. So we need to strengthen, equip, raise the standards of the primary health care centers. Of course, the governments are doing it. They must do it in a big way. I am sure the government's announcements of Ayushman Bharat, National Health Protection Scheme, to provide medical insurance to 10 crore poor and needy families will contribute towards improvement in maternal and child health indicators. Similarly, the government's proposal to establish 1.5 health and wellness centers across the country to provide comprehensive health care, including maternal and child health service, is expected to improve the situation.
And with that, and for a very short break, stay with us.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman arrived in Washington, D.C. for a 5-day visit. The Defense Minister will lay the wreath at National Cemetery, after which she will hold a bilateral meeting with U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis at Pentagon during her visit. She will also visit the Mountain View headquarters of Pentagon's Defense Innovation Unit. According to the reports, acquisition of weaponized Predator drones and anti-missile shield for India will be on the top of the agenda. And a 12-day military exercise between Air Forces of India and the US begins in West Bengal from today. The aim of the exercise is to enhance operational coordination. The XCorp India 18 will be the 4th edition in the series of bilateral drills between the Indian Air Force and the US Air Force. This is for the first time the exercise is being held at 2 Air Force bases. The US has sent a fleet of F-15 CD and C-130 military aircraft. The IAF is participating with the Sukhoi 30 MKI, Jaguar, Mirage 2000, C-130J and AWACS aircraft. The US and Indian Air Forces are enhancing their overall cooperation as part of deepening of defense and security ties between the two nations. And External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj will be on a 2-day visit to UAE from today. She will co-chair the 12th session of the India-UAE Joint Commission meeting for economic and technical cooperation in Abu Dhabi, along with her counterpart Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Along with the UAE Foreign Minister, Swaraj will also inaugurate a Gandhi Zayed Digital Museum in Abu Dhabi to mark the celebrations of 150 years of Mahatma Gandhi's birth and centenary celebrations of the birth of Sheikh Zayed, who was the founder of the modern UAE. She would also interact with the Indian community in Abu Dhabi. India and UAE are one of the largest trade partners and have made robust investments bilaterally with nearly $50 million bilateral trade. The UAE is the 6th largest largest source of Indian oil imports and hosts a 3.3 million strong Indian community. And some more national developments. RBI's Monetary Policy Committee will begin its 3-day monetary policy review meeting today. According to the experts, the top bank is likely to maintain status quo on interest rate despite moderation in economic growth and easing inflation. After back-to-back hikes since June, the RBI had kept interest rates unchanged in the previous policy review in October. The issue of liquidity in the banking system is also likely to be discussed in the meeting. The 6-member Monetary Policy Committee is headed by RBI Governor Urjit Patel, and the outcome of the meeting will be announced on Wednesday. Energy-rich Qatar will withdraw from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries in January after 57 years. The organization, better known as OPEC, is an intergovernmental organization of 15 nations, which acts as a regulatory body to ensure stabilization of world oil markets. The decision came after Qatar reviewed ways to enhance its role internationally and plan long-term strategy, including focusing on its gas industry. Qatar is one of the OPEC's smallest producers, but the world's largest liquefied natural gas exporter. And US President Donald Trump has said that China has agreed to scale back tariffs on imported US cars. This development comes one day after the two countries agreed to a ceasefire in the trade war between the world's top two economies. Asia stocks rallied on the news that Washington and Beijing would not impose any new tariffs during a 3-month grace period, during which the two sides are meant to finalize a more detailed agreement. On Saturday, Trump and Xi agreed to put a stop to their tit-for-tat tariffs row, which had roiled world markets for months. Now, Trump agreed to hold off on his threat to slap 25% tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods from 1st of January, leaving them at the current 10% rate. In return, China is to purchase a very substantial amount of agricultural energy, industrial and other products from the US. And the World Bank has unveiled a $200 billion in climate action investment for 2021 to 25. This amounts to a doubling of its current 5-year funding. The announcement coincided with the UN Climate Summit meeting of some 200 nations in Poland. The World Bank said that the move also sends an important signal to the wider global community to do the same. Developed countries are committed to lifting combined annual public and private spending to $100 billion in developing countries by 2020 to fight the impact of climate change. Meanwhile, the UN Conference on Climate Change that began in Katowice in Poland will continue till 14th of this month. COP24 is very significant as it is expected to finalize guidelines for implementation of the Paris Agreement of 2015. Environment Minister Harshvardhan, who is leading a delegation, outlined India's expectations from the conference. He said that India expects the conference should be able to frame guidelines which are pragmatic and gives due consideration to challenges and priorities of developing countries. And France is facing its worst civil unrest in 50 years. Over 400 people have been arrested in Paris over protest against French president's new policy of fuel tax hike and overall economic policies which people claim favor the wealthy and big businesses. Over 250 people were reported to be injured in France, with 133 injured in Paris, including 23 members of the security forces. Since the protest began on 17th of November, activists have torched cars, smashed monuments, looted shops and clashed with police in the ongoing nationwide protests, which are now called as the Yellow Vest protest. French President Emmanuel Macron on Sunday surveyed the damage from a day of riots across the Paris. He also held a crisis meeting with the Prime Minister and top officials that ended with a call for further talks with anti-government activists. The government has not ruled out imposing a state of emergency to combat the protest after last week's talks with the activists failed. Macron has so far refused to roll back taxes on fuel, which he says are needed to fund the country's transition to a low-emission economy. And sports news now. In the 14th edition of the Men's Hockey World Cup, the match between India and Belgium ended in a draw at Bhubaneswar. In their Group C encounter, both India and Belgium scored 2 goals each. Belgium's Alexander Hendricks scored the opener in the 9th minute, while for India, Harmanpreet converted a penalty corner into a goal in the 39th minute. Simranjeet Singh added another goal for India in the 47th minute, but a goal by Simon equalised the score. India is currently on top of the Pool C following a victory over South Africa in their opening game. The men in blue will next face Canada on Saturday in their third Pool C match. Earlier in the other Group C game, the match between South Africa and Canada also ended in a draw with a score of 1 goal each. Both South Africa and Canada lost their opening games to India and Belgium respectively. Spain will face France in their Pool A encounter, while New Zealand will take on Argentina. Both Spain and France lost their first Pool A matches, while Argentina and New Zealand have won their respective opening games. The nation marks 134th birth anniversary of its first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, today. President Ramnath Kovind today paid floral tributes to Dr. Rajendra Prasad at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu remembered Dr. Prasad and his invaluable services to the nation as a freedom fighter and first president. He said Dr. Prasad's vision and leadership will continue to guide the nation and the people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a tweet said Dr. Rajendra Prasad was a symbol of rich talent, simple life and high thoughts and ideas, and he will always remain an inspiration to the countrymen. On the occasion, a function to pay floral tributes to him was held in the Central Hall of the Parliament House. And that's all we have for you in this edition. Thank you for watching.